Welcome, dear traders. You are watching a recap of the Asian session on May 15. The Japanese stock market opened the trading week with the biggest rise and reached its record highs in 1 year and a half. Meanwhile, stock markets of other countries are still influenced by the sentiment on Wall Street. As a result, they also opened the week with a decline like the US stock market. It seems that risks in the stock markets have become lower. Now all eyes are turned to the banking crisis, the overall economic situation and the US debt ceiling. US President Joe Biden was expected to hold a meeting with the US Congress leaders on a Friday. However, it was rescheduled for this week. This delay fueled concerns about the possible default. The US President and Kevin McCarthy, a current Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, should meet on a Thursday, and the Senate and the House of Representatives will negotiate until Thursday, whereas the President will stay in Washington until Wednesday. In other words, the parties should come to a conclusion until May 18. At the same time, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen continues to remind the government that the US debt default could be unthinkable. She also supposes that it's a Congress that should raise the debt ceiling. Judging by the movement of the greenback, which has been rising since Friday, traders are now choosing safer assets, and the US dollar index, which measures the currency against a basket of 6 major currencies, displayed the largest weekly growth since September 2022. The US dollar consolidation within the narrow range of 102.50 and 102.80 reflects its stability as a safe haven currency. Notably, the US dollar is also shaped by a rise in the key interest rate and the US government bonds yields. Comments provided by Michelle Bowman, a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, bumped up the greenback by 1.4% late on Friday, and this week traders will focus on numerous speeches that will be delivered by the Federal Reserve officials. What's more, on a Friday, Jerome Powell will disclose his view on the situation. Regardless of a possible default on the US debt, the greenback is climbing against the Japanese yen. According to recent reports, in April, the Japanese producer prices added 5.8%. It's the smallest rise in the last 20 months. Such a reading could be explained by the weaker influence of changes in commodity prices. What's more, the data confirmed that the central bank has chosen the right stance. However, this led to a drop in the Japanese yen. Nevertheless, the producer price inflation came out at 5.6%, exceeding forecast. Japanese CPI will be released on Thursday. If price pressure increases, it could put the staunchly dovish position of the Bank of Japan into question. Japan's top economic council has reached the same conclusions today. Some of its members stated that the country's central bank should consider changing its policy if inflation and wages continue to rise. As a result, the dollar-yen pair stopped near 136 after moving up for the 3 days in a row. Earlier, the pair broke through several technical resistance levels. During the Asian session, the dollar-yen pair was trading between 135.60 and 136.30. The pair continues to rise and the Japanese yen is expected to decline deeper. However, its weakness appears to be temporary, as much would depend on the US dollar's reaction to remarks by the Fed policymakers and other events. However, the key factor will be the US debt ceiling. Talks and the Japanese yen may become a popular safe haven asset in this situation. US dollar bears will certainly try to push the pair down. Meanwhile, the Australian dollar is gaining momentum within its ascending price channel between 0.6642 and 0.6696. The Aussie reached the intraday high of 0.6665 and hit 0.6686. During Monday's Asian session, the Australian dollar closed in a positive territory against its US counterpart for the first time in 3 days, amid the policy meeting of the Reserve Bank of Australia. The Australian Central Bank will announce its monetary policy decision tomorrow. The New Zealand dollar is also on the rise, propelled upwards by the rate hike expectations. During the Asian session, it rose 0.6217 against the US dollar. However, its upward movement appears to be less solid compared to its Australian counterpart. After declining during the previous 2 trading sessions, the New Zealand dollar recovered somewhat in the daily period, moving in the price channel between 0.6186 and 0.6231. The New Zealand regulator will announce its monetary policy decision next week on May. The new week promises to be much more eventful. Traders will digest numerous statements by central bank policymakers around the world. Furthermore, key economic and statistical data will be released in the United States, European Union, and Asia. Follow InstaForex TV to get the latest market commentary by our analysts. This was the recap of Monday's Asian session. We wish you a successful trading week. Until next time.